The following is a special presentation of First Horizons Greene Sports Zone. This is the Tommie's Plum and Caleb Slover Show. Welcome back to First Horizons Greene Sports Zone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Tommie's Plum and Caleb Slover Show, where we cover everything on the range of the West Greene Buffaloes football team. We'll recap the Week 1 matchup with Cosby and look forward as the Buffaloes host the North Greene Huskies in this week's battle on the range. But first, before we do that, we need to go ahead and get a quick word in from our sponsors first. So we'll be right back after these messages here on First Horizons Greene Sports Zone. The Tommie's Plum and Caleb Slover Show is brought to you by Gateway Ford Nissan and by Tommie's Plumbing. Welcome back to First Horizons Greene Sports Zone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Tommie's Plum and Caleb Slover Show, where we cover everything on the range with the West Greene Buffalo football team. As always, I'm joined here with West Greene head coach Caleb Slover. Coach, how's it going, man?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, too. Back here for another edition. Week 1 in the books. Unfortunately, didn't go your way with a 33-25 loss to Cosby. In it all the way to the end, just couldn't get over the hump there at the end in the fourth quarter. Take me through Friday night's action with the Eagles.
You know, I mean, I don't think we could have started much better. I mean, we had some energy. The crowd was great. The atmosphere was great. We get the ball, go straight down the field and score. They go down and score. We go down and score. So we just knew it was going to be one of those games, and we both kind of settled in right there. Had a couple opportunities there to score late in the first half to maybe take a touchdown lead going into halftime. Just didn't make that happen. Made a huge mistake right before halftime with the deep ball, and they caught that. So that it's a 12-point swing. We could have scored. They turned around and scored, so they go up 6 at halftime and come out, and our kids just keep fighting, man. I mean, just kept fighting, and I think they scored and went up 33-19 with like 9 minutes left. We get the ball, drive it straight back down the field, and go back down and score and cut it to 33-25. Kick off to them, and then had them in 3rd and 12 right down here at the end of the game with about 2.5 minutes left to go in the game. And they made a good play, and we made a mistake, and they got the first down and was able to run the clock out on us. But proud of our kids, proud of the way they fought. Thought they played extremely physical, which is what we talked about, and kind of match what we talked about. We wanted to see especially out of game 1, is can we play hard for 4 quarters? Can we battle? Can we be physical? Can we match the intensity of somebody else? Because we really hadn't done that yet. And I think all the way across the board, our kids just flat out laid it out on the line. And after the game, they were hurt. And that was the positive thing about it, man. They were hurt. They were upset that they didn't win. But you could see it in their eye that it started to hit a little bit. If I go out there and give this kind of effort and play this way, we got a chance. And, that was the great thing to see about it.
And touching on one of the notes that you made in the preview edition, I believe we mentioned it last week, you wanted to stay in some of those close games that got away from the Buffaloes last year. You were able to do that in Week 1. Mm-hmm. You had a lead, let it slip away, then you competed in the fourth quarter. That's what you mentioned. You want to be in the ball game in some of those games in the fourth quarter, and you were. How proud were you to see the culture change a little bit in this game and to see them fight hard in the fourth quarter and not give up?
Yeah, I mean, that was the number one thing for us going in was, are we going to be able to fight hard for 4 quarters? And, I know they played them in a good game in the first half last year, and then it kind of fell apart on them. And that kind of, from what I understand, has kind of been the scenario throughout the season. They'll play good for a little bit, and then things don't go their way. It kind of snowballs on them, and that's what we kind of talked about was don't let that snowball go. We got to get up and we got to answer the bell, and we got to come back and respond. No matter what happens, we got to respond. And again, just to see our kids the way that they were hurt after the game means a whole lot to us. Just because all of a sudden it means a whole lot to them, and kids don't get upset over nothing too much anymore. So to see that and to see the way they responded was just really, really good for us.
And I've cliff noted the game, and we'll kind of go down throughout the list of how the game went in order. But before we do that, man, let's talk about Aiden Thompson. First career start at quarterback, and what a game he has. 21 rushes, 162 yards on the ground, 2 rushing touchdowns, and then 74 passing yards. Hit a really efficient game in his first game as a starter.
Yeah, they were, they gave us that crazy look, that 3-3 stack where they can bring them from everybody, and I think any football coach would say, I think that's one of the toughest defenses to block. And I thought our kids did a good job with it. And, that was kind of our backup game plan going in, was being able to put the ball in his hands. But we felt like we would be 6-on-6 if we could just cover people up and give him a chance to break loose, that we would have some room to run. And fortunately, it worked out for us, and we just stayed in that package. We were having a ton of success out of it. He threw the ball good. Hit a couple deep balls, threw it where it needed to go, took care of it, made one mistake with the interception. But, again, first time playing quarterback in a spread where he's got to make those kind of decisions. I thought he did a good job with it.
And Aiden guides you down the field on that opening drive of the game, but it wasn't Aiden who scores that first touchdown. Kyler Patterson scores the first touchdown in your tenure here at West Greene High School. So how special of a moment was that to see Kilo get in the end zone to open up your first game with the Buffs?
It was good. We've talked to him, continuously about just being a better player. Be a better player. And, that speed sweep that we run sometimes is kind of, I guess, like the old offense where they tuck it up and try to get inside. And, we kind of harped on him about, hey, this is outside. We want you to get outside, use your speed, use your athletic ability, and get out there. And we got some good blocks on the edge, and he was able to keep it outside and get up in there and score. So he did a really good job with it.
And then Cosby ties, and then Aiden does get a touchdown. He gets a rushing touchdown to put you all up 13-7 right there. So, and he gets another one later on in the game too to cut it to 25-19. He gets those 2 rushing touchdowns right there, and you sort of knew at one point he was going to get into the end zone, just seeing how efficiently he was able to move the ball. Because I read Mark Brooks's article about the game from Friday night, and he wasn't just gaining 5 or 6 each time. He was getting big chunk plays. Because you look at his average, 21 rushes for 162 yards right there. That's about 8 yards a carry right there. So he was doing well running the ball. You knew at some point he was going to get into the end zone, and he does it twice.
Yeah. We I think the only time that he really didn't pick up big plays is when he scrambled. We had pass play or something called, and he had to scramble. I think one play we were running quarterback sweep out of it, and he slipped and fell right at the line of scrimmage. And then I think the only other time he really didn't pick up huge yards was, on a scramble drill where it counted as a rush or whatever, and, picked up very few. But other than that, the kid was dynamic all night. He took a beating. Denver complained, got hit almost every play, and just got up and kept going, and just showing the fight that, that kid's got in him it was great for us to see and great for our team to see. It was great to see them, their quarterback, their leader wants to go out there and fight and battle the way that he did. I think that really helped carry the rest of us through a little bit.
And then in the first half, I'm sure you felt like you were in total control whenever you take that 13-7 lead and you're able to get back-to-back turnovers on back-to-back Cosby drives. Mm-hmm. Roman C. jumps on a fumble and recovers it, and then Caden Archer comes away with an interception. You weren't able to score any points off those turnovers, but how fruitful was it to see you be able to get back-to-back turnovers like that?
Yeah, that was good for us. I don't think we've had very many turnovers in the preseason, so to be able to come out and get them back-to-back, the fumble, the first one was, just a great effort played by a lot of our kids. I think Kilo's the one that ended up coming out on the screenplay when he cuts back in and puts a hit on him, and then I think Hunter Franklin hits him from the backside, knocks the ball out, and he picks it up, and then the interception, Mason Mills was at defensive end for us, come off his block, and, Mason's a big, tall, lanky kid, and jumped and got his hands up in there, and I think he made him float the football a little bit, overthrew it, and to get that interception. So, we were excited to see those. We were excited to see those kids fly around and make some plays.
Trailed 19-13 going into the half, and then you come out of the half. I think they score to go up 25-13. Then Aiden scores to cut it there. They score to go up 33-19, and we mentioned it in the beginning. A lot of times when West Greene gets down 33-19 in the fourth quarter, you see West Greene either feel a lot of urgency and maybe rush some things, maybe feel a little bit of panic. Didn't seem that way. You drive it all the way down the field. Avery Johnson recovers a fumble in the end zone and gets credited with that touchdown right there. So how good was it to see you cut it to 33-25 there with 3 minutes left to go, knowing, hey, we're still in the ball game. We've got a chance to stop them on defense and win the game.
Yeah, that was huge for us. And, I think the good thing about that whole drive is nobody panicked. Our kids wasn't sitting there, running crazy and not knowing what to do. We were prepared. We had our composure. They were able to just stay calm in the huddle, call the plays, and keep going. And, it was a great job to see there. I hated to see us fumble it right there on the one. Thank goodness Avery was there to pounce on it for us. But, we talked to the running backs about that. We got to be able to finish that drive and go ahead and put it in and not leave it at risk right there.
And then you fall to Cosby 33-25 in the home opener. It stings, but the good news is you get another home game here, this time a county rival in North Greene. We'll go ahead and touch on it in the back half. We'll go ahead and get a word in from our sponsors first and let you hear from them. We'll talk about that upcoming game with the Huskies here on Friday night here on First Horizons Green Sports Zone.
For over 30 years, Tommie's Plumbing has been serving the Tri-Cities with a personal touch because we're not just plumbers, we're family. From simple faucet fixes to major plumbing repiping, we have the expertise to get it done right. We also specialize in water heater and tankless water heater installations, helping you find the perfect fit. Our technicians stand behind their work and leave your space spotless. Need a plumber who's fast, professional, and reliable? Call Tommie's Plumbing and let our family take care of yours.
Hey folks, it's Gateway Ford in Greenville. Right now, everyone gets Ford employee pricing. The same deal Ford employees get. No games, no negotiation. Save maximum green in Greenville today at Gateway Ford on Highway 11 East or at gatewayfordgreenville.com. Save some green in Greenville at Gateway Nissan, carrying on a 55-year tradition of doing business your way. Save thousands on Sentra, Rogue, Frontier, and more. Take the short drive to Gateway Nissan in Greenville or online at gatewaynissangreenville.com.
Welcome back to First Horizons Green Sports Zone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Tommie's Plumbing Caleb Slover Show, where we cover everything on the range with the West Greene Buffaloes football team. As always, I'm joined here with Buffaloes head coach Caleb Slover. So you get the North Greene Huskies this week, big-time county rivalry matchup. Both teams coming into this matchup 0-1, hungry to get that first win of the season. What's it going to be like on Friday night? What are you expecting?
Yeah, I think this is going to be another four-quarter war for us. I don't think the score is indicative to how big of a threat they are offensively over there. I know they're playing some young guys up front, and I'm sure those things will be corrected this week, and they'll be better up front. But, it's going to be a good atmosphere. It's going to be, I think, a good four-quarter football game, and, that's what high school football is about, man, is just getting a great crowd here, everybody supporting their kids, and you got a bunch of kids out there that's just playing hard trying to win.
7 o'clock, that's when kickoff time is this week. I failed to mention that. I'm trying to do better at that this week. But West Greene loses 34-0 to North Greene last year. I know you weren't here for that. I know a lot of the kids in the locker room were here for that. Being around the team, I know it's only Tuesday, so you really haven't gone through much game prep with North Greene yet, but you have been able to talk to the boys in the locker room about North Greene this week. Is there any sense of not revenge but avenging that loss from last year, knowing that it was the first loss to North Greene in 18 games and being a shutout? Is there any sense of the boys in the locker room wanting to avenge that loss from last year?
I don't know if it's necessarily vengeance, but I think the kids want to be better than they were last year.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of games to work on that
right.
and get that done, but this just happens to be the next one. And we've talked to our kids a little bit about rivalry, and all these kids know each other. Our school knows South Greene and Chucky Doak and North Greene, and all the kids know each other, so there's always a little bit of rivalry and talk there. But we've really just talked about keeping it in our circle, keeping it in our field house and our field, and worry about what we can control. We can't worry about everything else that goes on, but we got to prepare right. We got to be physical. We got to be ready to go play on Friday night when it comes on, and those are the things that we can control, and that's kind of where we're hoping to keep it right now. So it's just control what we can control and not worry about the rest of it and see what happens.
Let's talk about what North Greene will present on the field. Let's go with the offense first. I know you only have one game of film to look at from last week's game with Chucky Doak. A lot of newness on the field. New quarterback, 4 or 5 new offensive linemen, some new receivers, losing some running backs. So what are you expecting to see from their offense on Friday night?
It's not new. Everything's new to me. So, to me, I just go out there and see a team that's, they got some great athletes at receiver. Tall kids, big kids, physical kids. They can catch the football. Quarterback does a good job of taking care of it and getting it where it needs to go. Again, they're going to see another strong running back this week. I think them and Cosby are very, very similar in the way they attack things. Both quarterbacks are good with the football. They got threats on the outside. They both have really good running backs that like to run it downhill at you. I think we're going to get a similar threat to what they get. Their formations are going to be a little bit different than what we saw last week. So we got to make some adjustments with that, making sure we get lined up and do those types of things. But, you don't put up 27 points on accident. I don't care what the final score was. And like I said earlier, I don't think it's indicative to how good they can be. And and the threat that they pose each and every week. But they put up 27 points on Chucky Doak, who I think everybody around here agrees and feels like they're a good football team, a really good football team. And so to be able to do that, they're obviously doing something right on that side. So we've really got to be locked in on defense and get lined up.
Fun fact before we go into the defense. After this game with North Greene, you will have either played or scrimmaged 5 of the 8 teams in that Region 1-1A conference. Scrimmage with Unacus, scrimmage with Cloudland, Jamboree with Hampton, game with Cosby, game with North Greene. You made your run through that 1A conference, but what do you expect to see from North Greene's defense on Friday night?
I think they're very similar to Cosby. They get that, that 3-3 front. They bring a lot of pressure with those guys, and they do a good job of mixing it up. And they do a good job of mixing up their covers. They'll bring their safeties down and play them tight and play some, what we call invert coverage, where they keep the corners back deep, and those guys are covering over top, and then they'll switch it around, bring their corners up last minute and drop the safeties back out of it. So they do a good job of moving around, and really got to see our keys on that of what's going on. And then, of course, up front, we've got to be solid in the run game again. We've got to do a good job of blocking, kind of covering everybody up and giving our backs, our quarterback lanes to run.
Hey, you said keys. That's our next question.
Oh, no.
3 keys to the game. What are your 3 keys to the game on Friday night that you need to carry out in order to be successful and get a win over the Huskies?
I think we got to line up on defense. I think we got to minimize penalties, and we got to take care of the football.
All right, there are your 3 keys to the game from Coach Slover. Let's jump into everybody's favorite question now. Question of the week.
Oh, Lord.
New one this week. Nothing to do with food this week. This one is sports. I actually alluded to it last week on this show. I had it in my mind to maybe be the next question of the week, and I went ahead and went with it. Let's go with basketball. Who's the GOAT?
Question?
MJ or LeBron?
Listen, I'm almost 50 years old. There's one GOAT.
Michael Jordan?
Michael Jordan.
I agree.
That's the GOAT to me. I think it's so crazy, one of those things though. But LeBron's probably one of the best in his era, and Kobe was really good in his era, and Jordan was really good in his era, and then you had Larry and Magic before that era, and then Kareem Abdul before that. So, but I just think overall, I think there's too many times that Jordan could just take over against physical defenses back in the day. It wasn't so much as hand touching and stuff that I feel like a lot of NBA is now, but it was physical. You go, there was plenty of games people were leaving with broken noses and bloody and all those things. So I think that it takes a different kind of person to be able to control a game whenever you want to in that type of defense and that type of era.
I think this week will be more of it'll be a longer question of the week video at the end of the week, because I think we'll have more elaboration on this week's edition, because so far I've only interviewed you and Eddie, and both of you have given me pretty good explanations on why Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Only through 2 interviews this week. I'm expecting a sweep with Michael Jordan. A lot of the coaches are that age where they've watched Michael Jordan play, so they go with it. But I think if I go out here and I ask every player that we have in the county, I think LeBron gets the majority of that there. But hey, this is a coaches show.
Yeah, that's
so we ask the coaches, and I think every one of them are going to say Michael Jordan. But hey, this Friday night, West Greene versus North Greene here on the range at West Greene at 7 o'clock. We'll have the game broadcasted on 103.1 FM WIKQ. Brian Staten and Barry Carter will be on the call. That pre-show will start at 6 o'clock, followed by the kickoff at 7 o'clock. Won't be broadcasted on Green Sports Zone this week, but you can listen to it on our radio airwaves, so if you can't make it out to the game. But we always encourage you to, then you can listen to it on the radio. Coach, you got anything else to add?
Let's get ready for a war. It's going to be another one.
Be.
I think it's going to be a good physical football game, and I think our kids are excited. We're excited, so hope both teams stay healthy and put on a good show.
Hey, hope it's a good game on Friday night. Until then, best of luck.
Appreciate it.
Good talking to you. Thank you all for watching this week's edition of the Tommie's Caleb Slover Show. Look forward to seeing you next time here on First Horizons Green Sports Zone.